Hey chat, how we doing today? I have come to the realization that I'm absolutely and utterly gonna be dog walked like the minute this stream ends, basically. So I finally got back some of the results for the animation assessments that I handed in, right? So for those of y'all who have been participating in the last several streams know that I've done quite a few assessment pieces. In fact, so many that only half of them have come back thus far. And I'm just okay, I'm gonna pull this up so y'all can see this. So this is the folder that has this like this set of uploads, right? So I've got like the previous week, so that's the arcing ball and like all this. I have so ignoring this one here. So each of these will probably be downloaded off of YouTube. But the ones marked review are the ones that just basically tell me that the stuff that he wants to talk to me about. So this one is 11 minutes and 20 seconds. And I think that's fine because there's technically 3 like assessments in that one video. Because this thing I think was like 30 seconds long or something. 14 seconds. So like that's all well and good. And then there's the bounce, squash, and stretch here, and that's I think about a 5 minute, 5 minute 15-second video. So I'm not concerned about that because that's like a pretty technical one. What I am concerned about, however, is this one here having a 9-minute long video for something that has what is essentially the same complexity as this one here. I don't know what the fuck happened in number 6, and I am quite frankly terrified to find out. Oh, Wayne, why have you done this to me? Anyways. Sorry, chat. Feeling a little bit under the weather today. Anyways, let's just get on with the actual content of the stream. So, I've been thinking for a couple of days now about what I was going to do for this week, and I decided that maybe, and I've done the thing again, sorry chat, every time I do that, I don't know how and why it keeps happening, but it does, and quite frankly, I'm getting quite sick of it. Just give me a moment while I figure it out. Minimize. Okay, doesn't seem like there's a active setting where actually I think it might be an accessibility. So where is the accessibility? Ease of access. Is it not here? Closed captions. Display perhaps? No, it doesn't have anything. Alright, so I guess we're just going to be dealing with that for the time being. So, what I wanted to show chat was I have here just copious amounts of screenshots of mostly Sly 2 and a couple of Sly 3 screenshots. Because I need to get an idea of what the art style looks like. So, I have this based off of the Auckland Harbour. And I figured that was probably not necessarily the easiest, but the location with the most landmarks we could reasonably work with here. Because I'm looking at these maps here, and what sticks out to me is that there's usually like 2 main landmarks that are quite close to each other on the map. So in the case of Paris, it would be like, say, the Peacock sign here, and then the Disco Demolitions mission, which is the nightclub out the back. So that would be the 2 main landmarks. You could argue that this here is a landmark, but to be fair, it kind of looks the same as this building over here, which isn't really a landmark. And then we've got, this is Canada 2, so this is Menace in the North. And the two main landmarks here are actually this tower here and John Bisson's house and the safe house down here. So that makes a triangle. That's also perfectly acceptable. Then we have episode 5. So this is Prague. And the two main landmarks here are the tower, which I believe is over... Where is it? It's one of these two here. Actually, no, I think it's this one here. So there's like the re-education tower, which is somewhere around this side of the map. You could argue that this is the main landmark as well, and that's a perfectly valid argument. So there's like one or two landmarks on this side, and then the other landmark is Neela's headquarters here. And then, like, obviously got the safe house. So each map has, at very minimum, 3 landmarks, one of which being the safe house itself. And then we've got the blimp from episode 8. And this one's actually quite different from all the other ones, and I'll get into that in a second. So, this section here, the 2 landmarks that I could think of immediately are these 2 back here. Like, so this is the where you go to Arpeggio's blimp, which is the section here. So this is a landmark. And then, like, this one here is actually a mirrored piece of the blimp, which could also count as a landmark. Otherwise, maybe you're looking at this middle section here. Now, this one's different from all the other ones because it's the only one to be non-circular. And I know that sounds wild when you look at Prague, but if you look at, say, like Paris, right, that's a circular map. You look at Canada too, this is also a circular map. And if you squint, you can see the roundness of the Prague map as well, especially if you, like, discount this section here, which is just the backing buildings to prevent you from jumping out of that, essentially. So, like, all these around it, I'm assuming this one's actually based off the, and this is a really wild crackpot theory, it's like designed as the internal framework of clockwork. Like, you can see the eyes here, and then, like, you have what is essentially just a very vague facsimile of the wing. Then you've got, like, the internal body parts, and you've got the legs down the bottom. So that's the only one that's exceptional. And if I pull up the rest of the maps for just a moment. So if I go to Canada 1, which is He Who Tames the Iron Horse, like, the actual map itself here, like, internally, is circular. We have Starry-Eyed Encounter, I assume it is. Yeah. So this one is circular. This is actually probably another exception because so that's the safe house there. The main map is a circle, but then you've got a bridge going off to this offshoot, which is the guest house. And this and Prague would be my most closest representations of the map that I'm trying to design with this kit. So looking at the in-game screenshots further, I need to decide. I'm essentially making a asset pack to design this map. So the first thing I need to decide on, and I'll just move my stuff out of the way here so I can grab out the drawing tablet and then start up a new file. Don't need anything here. So the first thing I need to decide on is walls. So each of the map has at least 2, if not more, varieties of wall. So say, for instance, Venice has brick walls in the back here, but it's also got plastered walls. So that's like the plaster there. I think that one's implied to be wood from the looks of it. So there's at least 3 different types of walls in Prague. Uh, Prague? That's not Prague, that's Venice. And then I think this also technically counts as Prague. So Prague has the stone wall backgrounds here. You've got the stone walls for the actual. I think those are prisons. Do I not have any? Oh, I do actually. Yeah, and then stone brick walls here. So most of these are just stone brick walls and plaster or concrete from the looks of it. And also something to note, and I think that it's pretty similar with most of the houses shown in this series, is that there's generally some sort of trimming. So you can see like here there's some brick trimming there. I think it's the same. Where is it? I saw one just before. Yeah. So down here there's like little, basically what is connections to prevent the walls from looking samey. So at least one variety of, I'm not sure what those are called. But yeah, like well, I think the word for it is supports. In fact, I'm gonna do 2 varieties of supports because if you look at, where is it? So you have a look at this, and it actually has 2 different types of supports. It has the brick wall, the brick ones that are attached to the wall, but then you've got your wooden supports here. So there's at least 2 different varieties of supports. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for the ground yet, but I want to have at least 2 grounds. So in this case, it could be like, oh yeah, you've got your, so you've got like your snowy pavement, that sort of thing, but then you've got like, say, a secondary wood texture somewhere that you can walk on. So like, say you've got your snow there, and then you've got your texture for the bridge and that, or just regular snow, ground pathways. Same here, like you've got your roads and then just regular pavement off the side here. Now, something else to be mindful of is I need to figure out what kind of landmarks I'm going to have. So at least 2 landmarks. And that's going to be non-repeats. So in this case, it would probably be a tower. Help if I could actually, handwrite properly. And then I'm actually going to do a cruise ship. So the idea is I'm probably going to have like the main bit of land here and have like the tower be like at the back corner or something. Then I'm going to have a harbour section. So it's going to be like a few houses here and there so that you can still like climb all over the map. And then you've got like your basically ridiculously oversized cruise ship. Actually, I'll keep that drawing for now. Could be helpful. So we've got that. Now, just breaking this down to, oh, I also need roofs. Probably at least 3 varieties of. So 3 different types of roof at least. Now I know the only one that multiple roofs are truly prevalent in is Dark Chateau, which is episode 1. Because a lot of these other ones, they're basically obscured or they're just samey. So like these ones here, they're all relatively flat and they basically share the same texture if you really look at it. And I think that's just about it for main constructions. So now we've got to look at secondary items. So these are mainstay items. And now we've got to do secondary items. The first thing that comes to mind with secondary items is roof decorations. The question is, how many of these do I need, really? Because depending on what I make the houses is going to dictate what kinds and how many different types of roof decor I can put on them. So, like, say for instance, you've got Paris rather. You got Paris here, and you've got what is it? You've got your skylights. You've got your windows coming out of the roofs here. I think there's a few of these stuck around the place. I pull that out. So yeah, you've got your skylights. You've got like a secondary type of skylight here. You've got your roof windows, and then you've got your breakables as well. So you've got your vents, like your vent fans here. You've got, I assume that's a smokestack of some variety, and then you've got TV antennas, which probably don't show on the map at all. And you've got these things too. So something also to note is, keep doing that. So, how many stories do I want my buildings to be? Because most of these seem to be one, although there are some cases where it does go slightly higher. So could that be counted as 2? That's the real question. And then, yeah, so we've got roof decor, probably an unknown amount at this point, maybe 3 at most. Then we've got, so we need pipes, spires, and ropes. So all of these are basically the same thing, and that's interactables. So there's generally, from the looks of it, only one type of pipe per level. Be that ropes, be that regular piping. I'm actually going to do 2 varieties of pipes here. I'm going to do rope and then actual pipe. And then for spires, it's like these types of things here where you can actually jump, hit the circle button, and then like stall on top of them basically without doing anything. Now, not every level has these in spades. I know Paris 1 has a distinct lack of them. Like, the only one that I'm aware of that... Actually, there's 2. There's the statues in the back here, which do spires, and the peacock sign itself, which is a spire jump. But then you've got things like India 1, where there's a whole bunch of these. There's like pointed rocks, there's these spires here. And then you've got India 2, where these don't show up until like basically the last point of the map. But you've got like your spires, there's one up here. I believe there's some further down, but I don't like where. Like this level has spires, and hilariously enough, there's a outhouse here which first of all dumps waste into the ocean. We're not going to get into that one, but there's a spire that you can jump on here, but it's also a breakable, so they're not mutually exclusive items. I think I'm going to leave this a question mark for now. And then ropes, I'm going to have... So there's two different types. There's walkable. And then there's slide. So usually the slide ones are pipes. And there's slippery pipes. Now, this one here could actually be a good choice. And that's only purely because I'm basing this off of the Auckland Harbour, where one could assume that there's maybe quite a few pipes around that be coated in seawater, thus making them fairly slippery if they got some sort of algae on them, no? So I'm going to probably have two different types of ropes. So I'm going to have like the regular ropes that you use, and then I'm going to use the sliding mechanic for somewhere in the level. So these are secondaries. And then last one here is actually breakables. So I'm not sure how many of these there are going to be, because these two here, this one and this one, are actually somewhat interconnected. So there's stuff in basically every level on a roof that you can break, more or less. So these two probably coexist in some way. I also need to consider like stuff on the ground, things like tables, like the vehicles in Paris. Basically anything you can smack and destroy, that counts as a breakable. Whether or not it breaks fully is completely different matter, and episode 8, some of the breakables do in fact explode. I don't think I'm going to be putting explosive barrels in this map though. And then, actually there is another one. Do I want hooks? So there's the wall variety, and then there's swinging varieties. So I don't know if those are going to be added. Actually, I think I might be wrong, chat. Can I move this? Is there a way to move annotations here? Actually, these were probably considered teetery, so I'll put this as sub. Because there are actually other secondaries here that I need to take into consideration. So I haven't broken all this down yet, but I do need windows. I probably need doors as well. That would make the most sense. And then fencing. So things to basically just run along, which would technically count as a rope, but we're not going to get to that one just a moment. So first thing I think of when I hear the word fencing, at least in this context, is episode 4 here, where you can actually jump along these. Also Spire Point jumps here too. And yeah, I think should be just about it. Like, what would be required for a harbour? So, like, what's around here will dictate what it is precisely that I go for. So, I'm not going to have a whole bunch of tall buildings here. I'm going to have it be basically regular sized houses. Now, let's see. So most of the buildings around here seem to be made out of concrete, although I can use these here as a reference, and these mostly, judging from the white exterior, I think are probably wooden. Although they could also be made out of brick or concrete. I might do concrete, actually, would make the most sense for a seaside venture. Like, you got all your housing over here. And all of these buildings here, I assume, are made out of the same concrete material. waterfront hotels and whatnot. Actually, I think these ones are probably brick. So, for this one, so brick and concrete. And then secondary supports probably won't use brick supports. So maybe metal and I'll put brick in, but it's most likely going to be concrete. Now the ground variety probably be asphalt. So do road. I'm probably going to insert some park greenery in here. So grass and okay, I don't need to work on the cruise ship just yet, but wood is probably something I need to keep in mind. So we've already done like these two here, so I don't need to be worried about that. Why is my handwriting utter dog water? Power and cruise ship and 3 different types of roofing. So I'm probably going to have this be metal, flat concrete, and what other options do we have here? Because I don't want it to just be the 2, because I feel like they would not offer enough variety. But I do know that metal is probably more common around here. Probably tile. So, tile. And then for these ones, I need to have probably at least 2 different varieties of windows. Probably going to do 3 varieties of doors and then 2 varieties of fences. Now, the fence thing, I think I'm going to have it be the harbour fencing. So, things to like basically prevent the player from yeeting themselves into the water. But also you could run along them. And then, what other fencing? Probably the stuff on the tower would be considered as a valid type of fencing. Now, I do know that at least one of these spires, I'm probably going to have this be like the wooden posts that come out of the harbour. So have the wooden post coming out of the harbour here, and then having fencing running along between them so the player characters fall in. Do I want cranes for this? I feel like that might be a bit too complex for my skill level currently, but we'll consider it. Now, I'm thinking maybe a market stall. So, market stall for one of the breakables, just, you know, night markets and that type of deal. What else do we have here? Because, like, I'm looking at, this is the view of the Sky Tower, by the way. So, these here are all windows. So, probably need roof decor. So, I've got windows. Roof. I love how, like, you zoom out and all the other stuff that I've written here just doesn't make sense. So I've got the roofing on this. there's likely going to be skylights here. And then, like, I assume this to be a fire escape of some sort. So... just move this back that way. Fire... escapes. But they'll probably be, good because I can do like a sliding... like a rope slide down the fire escape if I wanted to do that, I could. Then what else do we have for roof decor in this place? Probably vent fans. Or even AC ducts. So like the big units that you see at the tops of buildings, that sort of thing. And it's like on a huge platform. So that could be an option. There's a lot of industrial buildings around here, so I assume you can get away with that. And then what else do we have? It's just trying to dissect an entire city into its core components just to rebuild it in a video game style. Certainly not as easy as one would expect it to be. So we've got these like fire escape type things here. That back there. I think that's probably a vent hole actually. I wish like these photos came in better quality, honestly. Because not many of them do. Like this is probably my best quality one. So yeah, we've got vents, we've got skylights and that sort of thing. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. So yeah, I'll just go with that for now, for the roof decor. And then we've got probably just regular pipes, although you probably could climb up the ship masts if you tried hard enough, because a lot of these are a lot of the stuff in the Auckland harbour is things like race boats, like actual sailboats. So if you wanted to climb those, I suppose you could, but I'm not sure if I'm going to put those in yet. And then sorry, just pull this back over so everyone can see it. So I've got... I just want to bring attention to this for a moment. So we have this image here that I have found on ArtStation. And I'm just pulling this information based off of this breakdown here. So you have like your sidewalks, you have your lamp posts and that sort of thing. I should actually add a lamp post. So lamp posts. And then probably drain pipes as well. And then ship ropes. And then spires, not much I can think of here immediately. So ropes between buildings. So that could be the same as these here. Like, those two could be interconnected. And then, what else do we have? So slidables would be things like ship rails. And ropes around the harbour. So I could make those slidables as well. Now, for breakable things, obviously, probably gonna chuck the AC ducts into this category as well. And then, what other things? Probably satellite dishes. Those could very easily become breakables in this scenario. What other things? So, like, I'm looking at Paris 1 again. And obviously, we have the exhaust fans here. We've got these here. So I don't know if I need a secondary breakable on my roof. I know a lot of these don't have breakables on their roofs. But I feel like it may be necessary in this case. I suppose it's dependent on how I want to treat this. Like, do I want to treat this as a beginner level where there's a lot more stuff to interact with, or do I want to have this be a later level where it's more focused around navigation? So I've got like a lot of ropes here, but you go further on to like, say, like Canada 2, where it's not nearly as common. Although, to be fair, I think Canada 1 and 2 are mostly flat. So, like, you've got this one here. I guess there's no need for ropes because you're mostly using the trains anyway. And then Canada 2 has no excuse really besides the fact, I mean, there's a few ropes around. So yeah, I should probably make sure I put some decent importance on the ropes. So I also want things to be able to crawl under, so make this one crawlable. So crawlable for that one. AC ducts, probably leave those be. Sat dishes, also leave those be. I might consider doing vents as well, we'll see. And then I probably want to increase the amount of windows I do to probably 4. So I want to do skylights. The roof windows. And just 2 regular ass wall windows. And then for doors, these can all just be relatively low interest things. Like, I mean, yeah, the implication of an archway is there type of deal, but you can't really go into them. How many of these actually you have? Oh, yeah, most of them do have doors. They're just so unobtrusive, you're not really looking at them. Like, say this one here, there is a door here, but like you just don't notice it because it's in the background. Or I believe here as well, like these are here. And like they're all individual, but they're not, like they're not screaming, hey, come and open me type of thing. Now I believe these, so there's like 4 different varieties of windows, so maybe I just want to up this to 6 instead of 4. And then maybe make this do 4 different wall windows. I might chuck in another door set here. And then I've got the harbour fences, and probably the fences on the tower probably require fencing just to prevent people from doing something silly. But I'm just thinking, are there any other fences that I might want to include in this map? If I do a dock, I've obviously got the harbour fencing. I can't think of any other fencing that I might want to include here, at least not for the moment, but I'll keep that one in mind. So I've got wall supports. Actually, how many walls, different types of walls are there in these levels? I assume there's at least 2 for each, although they could go a lot higher than that. So I'm looking at... Let's go back to... Where is it? Oh, Paris, where are you? Brain is not computing Paris, apparently. Okay, here we go. So Paris, we've got... These are all basically the same wall, as I've come to figure out doing, like, looking at these a lot closer. So, like, you've got your separate walls there, but I think they're different from these ones here. So, like, you've got this here, which is just the same one repeated over and over again. You got this one here, which I think is probably different. And then you've got Alaska here, which I am 95% certain that just uses the same texture. It's just randomly cut off in some locations. And then this one here is just a flipped texture. Now, I can't tell. Like, I know these two top ones here are flipped. I don't know if this one here is flipped or not. Or if this is just one ongoing texture. Yeah, so, like, this one here is flipped. But I can't tell. Oh, it might be flipped, actually. But the door is off-centered, which makes it look like it's not. That's kind of cute, actually. So, yeah, like, all of these are the same. Like, these textures here are the same. I believe these ones here are the same. These ones are the same, but literally just flipped. And then... So there's one... So all of these here, so that one there, that one there, that one there, that one there, these ones here are all the same texture. And this one's different from this one here. So Venice has at minimum 3, probably more. That back one there is probably different again. But yeah, like, there's probably no more than 5 different wall textures. Because there's one here. And then those two share the same texture. So maybe 5 different types of wall textures. So 5 different wall textures. Like, the walls can be the exact same size. It's just doing the texturing that's going to be a absolute nuisance and hassle. Alright, so I think I'll just start with that for the moment. And then I can work from there. I'll just cast this off to the side. Yeah, I spent like about 40 minutes just sorting this out. Okay, and my Steve USB is getting away. Alright, so what do I want to start with? Probably the walls. So the question is, how big do I want to make these walls? Because these seem to have a variable amount of height between them. And I know the reason logically for that is that they're slanted, because that's the art style of this game. The buildings are more organic than your traditional building. Like, you can even see it in the textures here, where this is just really sloped. In fact, I think these are the same textures, but we're not going to get to that in a second. But, like, say, you look at the buildings back here, like, you can see the curves here. You can see the roof dip down that location. I think this one captures it quite well. Although, I don't think it's accurate just purely for the fact that the roof itself is not slanted. So... Oh, did they... I just realized I think they used the same texture for up here as they did down here, and that's actually quite a good usage of textures. Of, assets rather, not textures. So yeah, like, how many wall textures are there in here? It's like 1, 2, 3... Actually, those two are the same, so 2, say 3 here. Like, there's quite a few, now that I think about it. So, let's start off with a... Might probably do this. So this is a 2-meter wall. Now, how tall do these have to be? So, usually it seems like the walls are like taller than they are wide. And I think, like, for a base default, I think maybe starting at a 2... Because I'm a little bit confused here, right, chat? So, I'm assuming this is the default texture, and this one's actually been stretched. So if that's the case, it seems like they're starting with a 2-meter by 2-meter wall piece, and then just like stretching and squashing it back down to fit whatever building they have going on at any given moment. So let's try that. So this is the first wall. I'm gonna make this probably a brick wall. So take a quick step into the shading tab for the moment here, if Blender would permit me to do so. It's currently not. Like, what? Blender, are you serious? Are you for real? Why are you screaming about this? Oh, don't tell me you're actually crashing over me asking you to go to the shading tab. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Y'all seeing this shit? Damn. Okay, apparently Blender really doesn't like it if you have the annotations on, I guess. Yeah, apparently not. Alright, let's have a look-see at this. So, first thing that stands out to me is the note on the brick texture. So, we'll do wall 01. Just do brick wall 01. And let's have a fact about the brick texture for a minute here. So, like, this is a good start, but I want these to be really wide. So, like, I'm looking at, say, the compressor level where, or prog rather, where the bricks are really messy. Or, where is the other image that I had in Venice? Because I have multiple of them here. Venice, where are you? Do I really need to do the Sly Cooper bit where I do a really poor Italian accent to get things go my way? I sincerely hope not. Ah, here we go. So, like, all these bricks are different shapes and sizes. And I do not know if this allows for it. Can I... There's no way I can just set in a random... No, there's no way I can set in a random one. So, the bias is helpful, but it's not what we're looking for here. I wonder if I can... Okay, I'm gonna shift A, say textures, let's do Voronoi. And then if I plug this into... Well, that's certainly modern art. I wouldn't call it good modern art, though. Let's try mortar size. Well, that's certainly a choice. I wouldn't call it the good one. Oh, interesting. It does give them a bit of variation. So if I set the detail to basically non-existent, right? So if I have an idea. I'm gonna add in a math node here. I'm going to multiply this. Actually, no, this is the wrong node. I want a ramp node. Color ramp. So if I plug this in. Okay, now that looks vaguely interesting. So now I can adjust this to be what I want it to be. And then I can use this to randomly mess about with the texture of bricks. Now I just need something to mess with the size of them. So I wonder if I can duplicate these. And then mess around with the size. There is something funky going on with the scaling of this. Okay, so maybe size is not the way to go here. I wonder if brick width and height can be affected in this way. Okay, there's something funky going on here. What about row height? Okay, whatever it is, it's very wonky. Let's see if there is another texture that might be able to help a little bit better. A wave texture. What about row height? Okay, it does not like it when I do that apparently. Well, that's certainly a thing. This could be a really interesting transition, right? Like, you just have it go... whoop, and then, like, it just fades out like that. Like, that's rather interesting. But alas, that's not what I'm here for. I wonder if I have to do this manually then. I could do it manually. It would be a bit more obnoxious to do it manually, but I could. Alright, I guess I'm just doing this manually. So, let's grab that cube. Then apply scale. Grab this. X. Just scale this in a bit more. Scale. Just gonna scale this and apply the chat. Now what I could do is once I've gotten all of this sorted out, I can then maybe transfer the texture from the bricks directly to the plane instead. Which sounds like a wild thing to do, but I am pretty sure it's possible. Add 2 loop cuts to this. And then I'm actually going to make a duplicate of this. So... like that. Grab that across and name this sphere brick. First of many things to be moved into the spare collection. New collection, spares. Like that. And back to this. So I'm pretty sure I have, yeah, the randomized one on retainer. And then just randomize the seed of this a bit. So now we've got a rather interesting looking brick here. Now, are these bricks rounded? They certainly seem to be. Which means I probably have to attach a bevel modifier to this thing. That looks to be enough. Do I want to give this more segments? Or do I just want to give this less and then... Let's try this almost smooth. Apparently shading it smooth does not do me any good here. Alright, I shall keep it in mind for the time being. And then... randomize that. That's probably a bit too much. 002. Okay, so we've got a longer brick now. I'm gonna start duplicating this one specifically. And then randomize this. Get that going. And that one. And let's Control L and copy modifiers. So I now got 3 different varieties of brick. Do I want any more possible? So just Alt D to duplicate this stuff. I'm going to fit these into different parts. And then this one here, which is just spear bricks. Going to bring that to brick. In fact, I'm going to grab both of these. I believe it's Control F2, yeah. And then set name, new name, and brick long. Control F2, brick medium, brick short, and then this one, which I'm going to call brick tiny. Brick tiny. Control X, dissolve those, and then a little bit of a randomize. Not too much though, good lord. That's way too much. That much. And voila, we have bricks. So, these. So grab all these. Just make sure I grab the original ones. tiny. And then that one. It's the main collection and move these. Okay. And now I can hopefully just start and then like in between here, like I can just move these in after I'm done. Way. Probably can just place it up here. I think I duplicated too many of those ones. And that one. I do need to set the origins of these. So set origin to geometry. Do that for all of them. It will make my life a bit easier later on. And then I actually just want to quickly turn these on so I don't accidentally move the plane around. And then move that one off to the side. Because I do still need to move these. That. Now, the Sly Cooper art style is more higgledy-piggledy than anything I can come up with, but I can probably get relatively close, I think. So, grab these. And then 180. Just make sure I sorted most of these out. I'm gonna move them about randomly. Now, something that's important to note is that this sort of thing here, where the bricks like the gaps between the bricks are almost the same, that doesn't happen in actual construction, so I need to make sure I move these about appropriately. And then grab that next. Might even just duplicate this one. So I got that one going. That one along. And then later on, once I'm done, I can just adjust these however I like. Grab that. I think that one's too close, probably not. And then that. Yeah. Now, something I could do. Randomize transform. Yeah, I think that's just a little bit too much. So I'm gonna grab these. I'm going to do a checkered deselect for all none. It really won't let me do a checkered deselect. Odd. Okay. Let's grab that one. Yeah. Now those are probably too close together in terms of gaps in the brick, but we'll see. How does that look so far? If I look out there. There's a lot of gaps between these, which I do have to loosen up just a bit. And also there is some stuff that needs to be done. But then there's just, again, it's just this little gap here that I don't really want to do. Let's try moving these back a bit. Make sure they're really nice and close together. That. Now these aren't quite close enough together, but it's just tweaking the entire thing until it works. In fact, what I can do while I'm here is I can set up a material to be able to set in solid mode. Just trying to remember how to do that. Is that in this mode? Can't be. Shading. Nope. It's not that. Just use this material for now. Except Blender is getting really salty about me doing that for some weird reason. I'm gonna save this before I inadvertently crash myself. So there we go. Just make a new one. Or actually even that. New folders. And just label it like this. Now that I no longer have to worry about the entire thing shitting the bed, I could have sworn... Yeah, there's a viewport display here. Okay, now if I change that to, say, like a magenta, a dark magenta, I can absolutely see where there's gaps in between the bricks. And while the images here absolutely have the grout between the bricks showing, it's going to be a little bit less obvious when I do it. So, really squeeze these in together. Make sure this is non-selectable. And just pull them down. Make sure I find the ones that are already close enough. Those are close enough. That one's probably close enough. This one down. These two are close enough now, and then that one needs to be moved. Probably a little bit higher than that. So, I mean, like, yes, there's going to be some grout, but it's not nearly going to be the same amount as some of the other art styles. Let's see. I do need to swap this lot around, because there's just too close of a space between these. I'll move all of these. So most of that is already cleared out. And then put these together. Okay, that's not too bad, although this one could do with a bit of... Okay. And now here... I think all of these are fine for now. Okay. And the fun part about this one is that I can actually do two different sides, and then I have technically two different walls to work with. Now I just need to raise some of these up. I think these are all possible. And these ones here don't need to move, but these ones don't. Because the point is to have spacing between them, so they don't clip into each other, but I don't want there to be too much space, otherwise it detracts. Delicate game of balance I'm playing here. So we actually do have the back sides of these stones as well that I can use. In fact, I very well may do so. That moving a bit closer. This. Good thing it asks you before it deletes anything, because of this exact thing. Like, you're trying to move everything and you hit X. Imagine if it just deleted stuff immediately. I'd be livid. I'm gonna RZ 180. And then that's not too obvious, I don't think. Okay, maybe it is a little too obvious. Y 180. And then... but then that just makes it the same, but from the other side. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to swap the positions of these two. So I'm going to grab all of these and move up. Move back down slightly. And like that. All of a sudden, we've got a brick wall. Not too bad. And then the spare bricks can be just used for the supports if I need to later. So that is good for now. Now, do I want another brick wall? Possibly. It all depends on like what kind of design I want, because like I can easily use this brick wall for like houses and whatnot. But is there anything in here that requires me to make another brick wall? Because I think most of this stuff is literally just concrete, right? Let's see. Also make sure I full screen that, because for whatever reason, Blender just says no whenever it starts up. Let's hide all this stuff for now. I'm going to add another plane. X and 180. Oh, it's actually just RX90. I'm going to try and make this a concrete wall. Texture, shading. Now, I don't really want to use stock images for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at some images just briefly here and see what type of textures I can pick up with. So the first thing that comes to mind is a noise texture for the dirt stains. Looks to be, yeah, definitely a bump texture. Probably even some cracks. I could probably run this through procedural if I tried hard enough. So yeah, there's like some spots where the concrete's a bit deeper and whatnot, and then obviously the stains on the walls. I could probably get away with that, I think. I'll give it a swing at least. So first of all, like the actual color itself. So I'm going to do this concrete wall. So first inclination is that this stuff is just a darker grey color. And now for the actual coloring. So first thing that comes to mind is a noise texture. And this will probably dictate the dirt. So yeah, I can get away with doing that. Now, concrete walls don't really have a roughness, so to speak, do they? Like, they're not shiny or anything. So probably 0.8 for this one. Make it fairly matte. Now, a lot of these are just showing like holes in them, and that's not the sort of thing that I want. So something a bit more porous, something with a bit of cracking to it. So I think the thing I need to focus on at the second is the holes. Now, are there any textures that do that sort of thing? My first thought is like maybe a point texture node, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. What about a white noise texture? Okay, apparently it really doesn't like it when I do that. Okay, that was a flashing lights warning that I wasn't expecting. Sorry, chat. So... Gradient texture, environment texture. I could technically get away with checker texture, but that's too even. So maybe I just do another noise texture here. Like, really pump up the scale. And then... figure out if there is a way to force this into becoming holes. Okay, it seems like the detail doesn't really do anything. I could flip through these settings until I find something a bit more appropriate. That could be interesting. Okay, offset does nothing. Set, get rid of it. Okay, so that's not the way to go. Oh, this could be promising. Okay, offset does nothing, gain does nothing. What about distortion? Now that is a silly looking image. And it kind of hurts my eyes, so I'm just going to pretend I didn't do that. Hetero terrain. Probably not in this case. It seems a bit too noisy. So I wonder... Actually, there is one thing that I did do. I'm going to refer back to an old project that I did a while ago. Where is the file? So if I go into project files, other projects, I think it's under ship posting. Yeah. So this one's called Two Idiots About to Get into a Lot of Trouble. And I actually haven't touched this one in quite a while, at least since last year. So there is a particular texture that I did, I think for either the walls or the floor, where it was a bumpy, almost gravel-like texture. I'm going to see if I can replicate that in some way. If Blender decides to load it all, that is. But the most important thing is that it's cartoonish, and that's what I'm trying to aim for with this texture. Come on, Blender. There we go. So... where is it here? So it uses a Voronoi texture from the looks of it. Also, Blender is probably screaming at me over this. Okay, please stop that. So I've got the walls and the floor. So yeah, it looks like Voronoi texture is the texture of choice for this one. So let's have a go with the Voronoi texture instead. So if I... yeah, okay, that makes a bit more sense actually. And then I'm going to plug in a secondary Voronoi. I'm gonna chuck this through the mix mode. So that's the main color, this is the secondary. And I want to multiply this? No. Okay, I want to lighten this. And I want to add a math here. Okay, that's a bit too much. Okay, maybe I need to add in a... I keep forgetting what the ramp node is. I'm sorry, chat. Just give me a moment while I try and figure out which one this is. I think it's Vector... No, it's not Vector Math. Clamp... Float curve. Here we go. So if I mess about with these... So that doesn't do much for me. What about here? Okay, so I want to make these white. And then some spots have more holes than others. Give this a 4-dimensional look. Now I do want this to be quite a fair bit thicker, I think. So I want this to be like mostly, except for like a few instances. Now my only problem here is like I can't make these too big or small. So it's going to be quite a fine balance to figure out which ones. Interesting texture, but I don't think that's what I'm aiming for here. Let's see what's going on here. So roughness does nothing. And then, honestly, yeah, random is probably the best. I want F2 perhaps. Let's smooth F1. Okay, smooth F. Okay, I don't know if this is because of my fat ass or not. Does this not look like dragon fruit? Like, does anyone else see? Hang on. Like, is this just not the same goddamn texture? How did I manage this? First, it was like several different variations of accidental Minecraft grass textures, and now I've just got dragon fruit. Like, bro, how does this happen? Okay, that speckle was actually probably close to what I wanted to be. Probably need to make the scale of these just a smidge smaller. Okay, I think that's probably good. So now it's just basically finding out where this should stand. Okay, so that goes into that. Now, I need to plug this into the normals using a bump node. Now, interestingly, there doesn't seem to be much going on here. I wonder why that was. Oh, it's because it's plugged into normals and not high. That's a my bad. Now, this is pointing outwards, I think. Oh no, that's actually doing exactly what I want it to. Okay, it's a start, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. So it seems like there's a bit of a roughness to the actual wall itself and then the indents. So I should probably work on that. I also probably need to lessen the amount of holes there are in the wall. Because I feel like this would probably just be a trypophobia problem waiting to happen. So if I scale this down to roughly around about here, let's say. Okay, that certainly makes some holes, but I don't see this scaling it down. So let's try setting it up to be about that much. So yeah, like you look at it and there's the occasional hole there. Maybe that much. Okay, cool. Now I just need to lessen the strength of this. So I obviously want indents, but I don't want them to be like actual holes in the wall, so to speak. Now I just need to figure out how I want to do the rhyme on the wall. So I've got like the main texture, so to speak, down. So I'll just move this around so it doesn't get in the way of each other. Let's see. Add in a mixed color. And then that in. Now, what I want to do here is instead of mix, I want to do dark. And then focus on this one specifically. Actually, I probably want to add a ramp to this. And then work on this one. We're round about there, feels right. And then I want to add in a Voronoi to this one. Duplicate that. And then mix this in. And that produces a funky result, but that's not what I'm looking for here. Smooth F1. Also, I want to make sure I smooth F1 this one as well. Otherwise, it is going to look a bit strange. And then lighten that. So now if I move this around and use the float curves here, I should be able to get a relatively reasonable result. So I think that looks okay, like in terms of stains. And then this one here. Probably make that as little detail as possible. Lenticular does nothing. Distortion. Actually, I'll just give it a bit of distortion. give this a curve. Like this. It just turned into all white. That sounds about right. And this one. Don't know how my mouse ended up there. Probably. Looks too messy now. Maybe using the vector one was the best answer. Alright, let's try this for a start. Okay, that doesn't show a whole lot actually now that I look at it. Like, it doesn't show a whole lot. Okay, it's just showing some blotches now. Which is better than nothing, I suppose, but... why is it showing dark spots like that? Nothing. Okay. Seems like the only thing that works here is... seems like bringing up the color in the ramp does work. So if I put that in now... okay, it's a start. But it's not quite the dirty concrete look that I'm looking for. Because it mainly comes from the top down, and that's mostly from water going down inside the concrete. So the question is, how do I achieve an effect like that? I have an idea. And for this one, I actually need to avoid the noise texture this time around. So if I pull up a wave texture, I know this seems a little unorthodox, but if I bring this up, now I can hopefully duplicate like this sort of effect here with the wave texture. So bands X sign, maybe triangle for this one, possibly, or even saw. Saw might be a better option, and we'll see. So the idea here is to have the lines going down, but then have the Voronoi texture cut them off. It's just that one on this scale. So the idea is to have the line, so what would be the waves going downwards, and have this section here be darkened at the top. I don't know if it's possible with the stuff that I had access to. It should be in theory. If I change this... okay, rings is kind of interesting. So that's not what I'm looking for in this case. do. Same as Z, basically. Let's do bands again. I'm gonna do triangle, I think. Detail does nothing. Or at least it doesn't in this case. But even if I pump up the detail of this, it just does nothing. Is it because it's sign specific, possibly? Who knows? Phase offset does nothing. Actually, distortion might work. It might be the thing that allows me to do this. Say 25 for now. So then I want a gradient texture. So I'm gonna remove these two for now. Gradient texture. So this one plugs into this one. And then I want to add a ramp to this. Cool. I need to add in a vector here. I think vector rotate specifically. Okay, that does not like the fact that I'm doing this. So we'll see how things go. Actually, what other vector do I have access to? It's usually in converter, I think. I don't think it's actually no, not texture coordinates. So it's probably in converter somewhere. Otherwise, it's probably... We already did vector rotate and it didn't work out well. Probably not vector transform either. So let's try... Actually, I can just control this. There we go, there's the map mode. See? Now we've got that going. So, it's 90. Actually, I can just do this at regular light. Apparently I can't. -90 it is. Alright, so the idea is that I have this lighten. So I'm going to flip the color ramp. So lighten up at the bottom, basically. So if I change this to lighten, and then pull that back up, so we've got that going now. So realistically, if I pull this up now, yeah, it has this here, and it fades off down the bottom. So there's holes in the concrete, there's that, like the lines going down. Kind of looks like, you know the doom and gloom lines that you see in anime, where the character is just super depressed? Like, that's just the vibe that I get from those things. So then at the top, I need to add a second gradient texture. So if I remove that, yeah, that just stays the same. So I need to add a second gradient texture, and I need to mix this. So then this one, I want to darken at the top. Although, I need to flip it somehow. Because having multiple mapping nodes is probably not good for the overall texture. For now, no, I don't want to do that. For now, though, I'll just get rid of that one, actually. So, plug that into the vector, plug this in here. And then I want to flip this. Oh. Actually, have I applied the rotation of this thing? Probably not. Okay, so why does this thing refuse to... do what I want it to? So why hands it across? So maybe I need to use the Y to... No, it doesn't do... Ah, here we go. And interestingly, it does seem to have like a bit of a grey fall off there too, which could be proved to be quite useful here. So, say 60 degrees here? Yeah. And then using this, I can darken this, although I do need to add a ramp. And the reason for that is I don't want it to be completely black. Like, I want it to be grey, sure, but I don't want it to be completely black. Same for this, actually, now that I think about it. This needs to be lightened up a little bit. So I need to lighten that up. How would I go about doing this? Probably even turn this a bit lighter. It doesn't prove to have much of a gradient, does it? I might need to add an extra middle piece here. Like pull that back a bit further up. And then if I combine that together, it's a start, I think. But it's just like trying to get that combination of grime without making it look too silly. Like, I'd probably do a better job if I actually had any idea of what the hell it was I was doing, but you know how it is sometimes, chat. Let's see what other options we have here. We have quadratic, easing, diagonal, not helpful here, quadratic sphere, also not particularly helpful, spherical, and radial, which basically shows up as nothing. So probably easing would be the best option here. So now if I do this, I need to move this back a bit. Yeah, I need to like move it all the way up. Okay, it's a start, but I would like to have the things here be the same faded color. So I'm gonna copy that, paste that here. And yeah, that basically combines it in. And then this here I can probably just set to be a bit darker. So yeah, that combines in and then they sort of streak out. If I really make that grey, it's not going to show up all too well. In fact, I think it might even look a little bit silly. Maybe I need to re-examine this. So I can make that go back, like, down a bit further. I'd even, like, pale all this out. And then this here. Just deal with the distortions a smidge. Because, like, if I did this, it doesn't really show up as anything. But if I bring it too far down, it's just going to look strange. Let's try 15. Try not to have this distortion scale up too much. We're about 3. So yeah, that lightens up like that. That darkens like that. So now if I set this to be a bit lighter... Now there seems to be a bit of a weird thing going on here. Is it because of the ramp gradient? Could be. So... Does this need to be darkened? So, like, currently it doesn't show any of that detail here, so maybe a map mode where I multiply this. So, say 0.2. Okay, now it just looks really dark and crunchy, and not exactly the type of detail that I'm looking for here. So, what is this thing's deal, I wonder? So, I could actually overlay this. Yeah. Because if I just set it to the way it is, it's just going to darken like this. But if I overlay, and I... but then the overlay only does that. So it does need to be darkened, but in a very different way. So if I overlay this... Okay, is it just me, or does this look like something out of, like, a comic book horror? No? Like, I don't know where I've seen this texture before, I just know I've seen it in something horror-related. I feel like. Like, does that not look vaguely horror-ish to anyone else? If I move this, it just leaves the black parts. So how would I go about fixing that? Because I don't really want this to be all blackened. Oh, interesting. That certainly gives some detail to it. And then this one here. This needs to lighten. So this one here needs to darken, but it needs to not go over. And then this one here probably needs to be... No? So if I darken this, it's just going to have these black and white. So in order to do this, I need to... If I lighten that... So this is the one that removes the stuff from the bottom. I need to treat it. So I need to grab these notes here. And then I want to join these now. So label this remove from bottom. So this is the notebook that removes the stuff from the bottom. And this one here adds to top. So add to top. So then now I can edit this. So give a little bit more grunge to this section here. Probably maybe like that. Okay, so maybe I need to... Yeah, so like some of the darker ones come out of that grungy area. So now if I do this... I can't seem to quite get it right, chat. I'll be honest. Like, this is not turning out the way that I hoped it would. I am probably going to take a break for the rest of the night and just see what I can learn in the way of doing texturing. And hopefully I might find something, because I'm not exactly matching the design of concrete very well, even from a cartoonish standpoint. So I'm going to have to work on that. Anyway, I shall see you on the next stream, where I should hopefully be making a few more things than